Let's go to T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author right now. T.S., thanks again for joining us. You've been on the broadcast a lot, and I'm going to listen, this isn't about just you're spitting truth, but when somebody is on over the target, as they say, right, or the tip of the spear and all that, I really don't even care about all the names of it. I care about the truth. So you've been really sharing a lot of truth, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people have said that on X, on Truth Social. And so I wanted to bring you back on. So share with us your 30,000-foot view on maybe the D&I situation or the accomplishments that we've seen with President Trump. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to be alive at this time. And I understand that a lot of people might not fully understand what we're witnessing every day. But we're in the middle of one of the greatest political battles of modern times. This is the third great reform of Western civilization, the first being the Reformation in Europe against the medieval papal organization that ruled Europe for 1,000 years. The second being against the British Empire, the Bank of England, and the East India Company that was fought in the War of 1776. And now we are in the third major turn, which is against a central banking elite power structure that has really been ruling and manipulating the West and committing a vast amount of crimes and tyranny across Western countries and the third world for more than 100 years. And so it's come to a head. The people have had enough, and there has been a populist movement that's elected this man. It was a hard-fought win, and now we're in the midst of his reform presidency. So Trump's second term in office is really a reform presidency. And to successfully reform a Western country, there's 4 stages. First, you have to rediscover and get educated and filled in on what's going on and what situation you're in, who you're up against. The second is that you have to retake the institutions. And we saw that in last year's election, where we narrowly got through facing assassination attempts and other threats to win the presidency and retake the White House, and then retaking both houses of Congress, retaking the Supreme Court. And so that's the second step. Now we're in the third step, which is reform, where you see these executive orders, legislation that's turning things back to the way they should be, righting the wrongs. And the fourth step then is what we're beginning to see now, which is very exciting, which is the redress of grievances and the administration of justice, where legal justice will have its due course.
Why is it important?
If you don't have that fourth step, then the reforms are temporary or transient. My joke is like the Fed was saying that the inflation would be transient. Well, these reforms and these conservative moves that were so hard fought, and we narrowly won. I know we won big in the election, but we narrowly got him into the White House. They will be transient. They will be temporary, and the deep state and the globalist power structure will sweep right back into power after he's gone. So you must have the administration of justice to solidify the reforms, really make the group, the party, the populist movement permanent, and then the third part is to deter corruption from taking place again, to deter and punish the bad actors.
And why is it important specifically for everyday Americans, people that are watching throughout this country right now, some people around the world watch here at Right Side? Why is it important for the contractor working right now in Wisconsin? Why is it important for someone working in the trades in Louisiana, or a police officer in Colorado, or a family that's struggling right now just to pay their stinking bills? They're trying to get another job. Why is it important, T.S. Dixon, on what's going on here?
Well, because this power establishment are, according to their ideology and their agenda, have been systematically stealing from the economies of Western countries, especially the United States of America. And so if people want freedom, if they want prosperity, if they want the equal hand of justice dealt by all, then they've got to support this populist movement. This is not a movement about left and right. It's not even so much about conservatives versus liberals, Republicans versus Democrats. This is the people versus an entrenched power establishment that is ruling us through a deep state and through bribery and blackmail of our elected officials. That is the real state of the union, and it is our populist movement that was called the Tea Party and then got rebranded as MAGA, that swept Donald Trump and his team, his new cabinet, into office to execute our reforms on our behalf. And so we have to keep that goal in mind and our eyes on that prize because that's how we win. That's the game-winning strategy.
Exactly. All right, so let's go to Stephen Miller from earlier on Truth Social, saying a number of great posts. I'm going to pull it up here really quickly, but basically talking about holding these people accountable that have, and he says the words deep state. In an actual White House deputy chief of staff that he is speaking about the deep state. President Trump spoke about dismantling the deep state.
Yeah.
This will, again, to your point, keep the reforms for our country. But do you sense what I was talking about earlier in the broadcast? There's this little bit more relief today because of DNI with Tulsi Gabbard going after certain people. You know what I mean? Do you feel that?
I do. It's the first signs that they're beginning to go after government crime, and that they're not continuing to kick the can and look over the crimes, the felonies of government officials and federal officials, which has always been the case before, where federal officials, the deep state, and this banking establishment will always cover for their own, while the people get the full weight of the justice system, landing upon them in many cases.
So what do you think should happen next? What's the strategy from here? We're seeing a lot go on. A lot of people are talking on the right, the left, the upside down wing, whatever wing. What's the solution in your opinion? What's your take on moving forward for the next 3.5 years and beyond?
Well, two things. One, I love the tweets. I love the energy that Trump is putting out of these memes and these AI videos of him going after, explaining Crossfire Hurricane to people so that are confused by it, unfamiliar with it, and then showing his goal of having Obama and his officials arrested and locked up for these crimes, these treasonous crimes, seditious conspiracy, which we were calling for and calling it that here on this show, and now you have Stephen Miller calling it that on X or Truth Social. And then we were calling for the removal of DOJ lawyers that were infiltrators. You're seeing those firings happening now. Maureen Comey, we saw that the day we called for it here on the show. And so my recommendation to the Trump team, the Justice team, and the department, well, if you'll permit me, Matt, I brought a visual aid to show what I'm talking about. I think, Reagan had the war on drugs. Bush Jr. had his war on terror. I think they've made Trump mad, and I think Trump needs his own war. Is that coming through? Can you put me full screen there, Matt?
Yep, we do see it.
So what I recommend is that Trump has a war on government crime and corruption, and that he goes full force against this to solidify his reforms. And what does that look like, Matt? Well, Trump is America's top cop. He's the top law enforcement agent in the country, top magistrate, and he has, he knows about the pardon power. He can pardon whoever he wants. But the president also is given the prosecutorial power. This is one of the greatest powers in the United States. And Trump wields it with his Justice Department. And so we need to see, just as he discovered and started to fully master and use his pardoning power, we need to see Trump empowering his DOJ and his U.S. attorneys to fully use his prosecutorial power, because it is his duty and his job and the honor of the president to prosecute government crime. That is our only remedy for it. What I recommend is that Trump recruit MAGA people, outsiders, whistleblowers, not swamp creatures, not established U.S. attorneys, not established. Jeanine Pirro is a great start. We had Ed Martin. I like Pam Bondi and others that he's brought in. I think we need more of these. I recommend that Trump call this group Trump's 21 Guns, his hired guns. These are U.S. attorneys brought in to go open up investigations. That's their power, to open investigations, make arrests, produce indictments, and prosecute crimes. That's the prosecutorial power that we need to see Trump begin to wield en masse to clean up this government. And here is a bingo card. This is an evidence board. And you can see here, these are all government crimes that we know about because we have disclosure in the media of the evidence of these crimes. We watch them on primetime television. And I have about 20 here on this board. There's more than that. But this is what I suggest, that the 21 guns from Trump's war on government crime, they open up an investigation into each and every one of these and others and pursue these to the ends of justice. You can see now I put a blue check mark like on X or Twitter over Crossfire Hurricane because they're beginning to publicly announce their investigation into this treasonous, seditious conspiracy where they tried to run a coup in the United States of America. But we have 21 trillion missing dollars. We need to find out what happened to that. There's a crime. USAID money laundering. The Doge Group discovered a multitude of crimes. We have the COVID crimes, 320,000 missing children, as reported by the New York Post. During the Biden administration that were put with random sponsors. Where are they? Act Blue is a criminal network. You have the J6 committee, the FBI provocateurs on J6, the Snowden NSA surveillance files, the 2020 election fraud, the LA fires, and all that happened there. How about CIA connections to the drug cartels in Mexico? You ever wonder why we never successfully win against the drug cartels? Let's open an active investigation. The Get Trump lawfare that we saw during his election, the Summer of Love riots, who funded them? Have we gone after everybody like they did after the J6ers to find out who was burning cars and killing police during those riots? So you can take me off full screen there, Matt, and I'll stop sharing. But yeah, that's what I'm calling for, is Trump's war on crime, government crime.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's well put. It's well laid out, the information you're sharing. And this is on top of President Trump dealing with the FBI raid to Mar-a-Lago and then all of the lawfare against President Trump starting on April 4th of 2023. I was
Indeed.
in New York the first day this was happening. There was a mini rally out there. People couldn't believe it. And that was just day one. And so all of the attacks against President Trump and all of the attacks against we the people, and you're saying that putting together this kind of coalition of people like
task force,
people like,
absolutely,
like Ed Martin and Jeanine Pirro and more of those kind of people to go after all of these law-breaking individuals. And you said for the full reason, the 30,000-foot view of it is to freaking save our country, right?
To solidify the reforms and carry America into our next golden era, just as Teddy Roosevelt did, as Lincoln did, as Andrew Jackson did, as Washington and Jefferson did. We are in another great reform era, reform presidency, and he's got a short period of time to do this work before the midterms. He could lose his legislative power in the midterms and be at risk of being removed from office by a corrupt Democrat House and Senate if they take back those bodies during the midterms. And so the time is short to do this work. But if he does this, he will have the support and love of the people. Absolutely. And I think they need to publicize and lionize, because these attorneys will face great risk. They should be lionized and made to be heroes. They should be known as something. I'd say his 21 hired guns, but you could call them whatever you want. But the people need to understand that he is really going after crime, that we will not have a two-tier justice system where leftists and globalists can do whatever they want to the people, steal and cheat and money launder and commit crime and get away with it.
And then put people behind bars for saying something that they didn't like, or, freedom of speech, censorship.
For speech.
All of those things. Well, I wonder what everybody thinks about what you just said there, because people are watching this live right now and on replay throughout our country. And I see it as something that is proactive and something that, again, brings more relief. Here's the thing. The fulfillment of rescuing and saving our country, I believe, needs to happen through what you're saying there, but also already what President Trump has been doing all along. Launching these investigations, that's part of number 9 out of the core promises, but he already, successful at sealing the border and stopping the migrant invasion and on and on, no men and women's sports. We get all of these things, but I think you are on point, because without this number 1 item to getting taken care of, to your point earlier, it could be transient. They could totally, if another president comes in 29, hopefully the right side of history wins. We have another great president that's a common sense leader for this nation. But if for some reason we don't, or even the following election, that border wall that's up, or allowing people in our country, that all can get turned around just like that, right?
Signing of a pen, that's all it will take. So let me just say this one more thing, Matt, is, Trump at this point, I don't think they're giving him any choice. I think it's clear they've been trying to destroy him for 9 or 10 years, and they're serious about trying to destroy him any way they can. They'll destroy his family, they'll destroy his reputation, they'll destroy his legacy, they'll destroy him any way they can. So he really has no choice. He either does this or they will continue to seek to destroy them until they get him on some level. And I think they've made a tactical error here. Trump was mad, I think, when they raided Mar-a-Lago. He was mad when they arrested him and brought him up on false charges. He was mad, when they tried to kill him in Butler. And he said, fight, fight, fight. But when he then won the election, I think it softened him. It almost made him forget about all that they had done against him. And he was just focusing on making the country better and was sort of leaving Comey and Brennan and Obama and these others alone. But then they just couldn't help themselves but to plant false evidence against him in these files that are in the news right now, the Epstein files. And so they just couldn't help themselves. They tried to run the JFK playbook on him last July in Butler, and it failed. And so now they're using the Nixon playbook to try and set him up and create a cover-up so they can do a takedown. That's the Nixon playbook. And just like Watergate, people don't know this, that wasn't Nixon, that was a CIA setup. He wasn't involved. He then was involved in the cover-up. And so they're running that playbook against him now. And what they've done, instead of taking him down, what they've done is pissed him off. And now he's going from Trump to Hulk Trump. And now that's why you're seeing him. He doesn't care. The gloves are off. He's turning into the incredible Trump Hulk, and he's going after them. And so I would just encourage Trump to channel this this reminding, this refreshing of they will try to destroy you if you do not use your prosecutorial investigative powers, just like you have with your pardon powers.
Mic drop from the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon. Where can people follow you, sir?
They can find me at tsdixon.com, and they can also pick up my book, which covers all of that I've been talking about, The Woke Mind Viruses, on Amazon.com, or get the audiobook on Audible. Just launched on Audible.
Why are you doing this? What is the main reason of all of this?
God, family, country, Matt. If good men don't stand up and good women don't stand up and do something, then the tyrants will win. We'll forfeit our country. It's a great country. I'm not forfeiting it.
Come on now. Okay, you get me excited here, sir. All right, T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.